Hi everyone, this is Brian from Provision Studios, and today I would like to make an accompanying video to go along with a video I just made recently of a studio look-in with Stacy Mayo. She came into the studio earlier this week and recorded a vocal performance of We Shall Behold Him for a funeral. And today I'd like to do a little in the mix video of the mixing process that I did to make that mix that's in the video. So this will give a little insight into how I took her live vocal performance and was able to through some plugins on my computer be able to get the product that was in that video. The link to that previous video will be in the video's description, as well as in a video card that's going to pop up right now. So you can click on that to see the studio look-in video, and then you can continue watching this video if you want to get a little more in-depth a look at the process used to mix that song. Alright, here we are in our session. So basically we've got Stacy came in and added a vocal over top of a track that we downloaded off the internet. I took the original track and tuned it into the key of A. It was originally in C, so we dropped it down 3 semitones to get it in the key that she was comfortable with, and then we started recording. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you the process that I used to mix her song, and how I do it when I start with a vocal is I get the I normally jump into a loud part of the song and I loop it. In this case, so that we're not having you listen to the same 4 or 8 bars over and over and over again, which is what I would do. Let's say it's an 8-bar chorus. I'm going to set those 8 bars on a loop, and I'm going to mix that vocal, let's say on a chorus or a bridge section where the vocal is the loudest, and I'm going to mix to that. And then I'll go and I'll run the whole song, checking my settings to get the most ideal fit. For this song, what I probably would do is split this onto a different track. So I'd have like a low vocal and then this louder vocal part where the second half of the song is, and I would put this on a separate track because I would process them differently. But for the sake of brevity, I'm going to just mix this all as just a single track, and the way it was recorded, and go from there. I will be using the Steven Slate virtual mix rack today. Simply put, it's an all-in-one that does a fantastic job. The new version comes with preloaded channel strips. So there's all, as you click through, you get different settings that Steven Slate recommends, and you can create your own based on your studio, what works best for your environment. For me, I'm going to show you guys from scratch how I would do it. So again, I'm going to loop the loudest part of the song, and I'm going to start bringing plugins in here and show you why and how I would do it. Okay, so here we go. So again, actually, let me back up a minute. Let me show you the performance from the beginning where she started singing. And I'm going to jump around into sections so you can see how dynamic. I mean, you can see with your eyes how dynamic a vocal performance it was. But you know, with let's listen for a moment.
The sky shall unfold, preparing his entrance. The stars shall applaud him with thunders of praise. The sweet light we shall behold him. Yes, we shall behold him. And the sleeping will rise from their slumbering place, and those who remain shall.
All right, so you get a basic idea on just about everything I mix, and this is my own preference. I usually bring in a delay while they're tracking. This is for the studio session. As I'm tracking the vocalist, I'll bring in a delay for them. Set it to ambient lead vocal, and I'll bring in a reverb. 9 times out of 10, it's the Valhalla Vintage Verb. I just love this plugin. It just works. And I set it to the artist's taste. And again, this isn't being recorded. It's just for them, for the session, to make them feel like they're getting a much more polished performance, more professional sound in their headphones that can give them the ability to sing better. Anyway, so I'm going to start the mix now. So let's dig in and get working on presenting a final product to the client. Again, this is going to loop.
Rise from their slumbering place, and those who remain shall. We shall be changed. Yeah.
right, so we added a preamp, the FG76 vintage pre. I pushed the drive up about 34. We can bring that down. I threw in a custom EQ with the vocals airy preset, dropped some of 600, the low mid, brought down the high pass about 215, and I checked my my top end, and I liked where it was doing with that. I used my FG 116 modern and vintage in tandem. I love using compressors in a stacked fashion. Very rarely do I just use a single compressor on a track. I tend to squash on one and then lightly bring another one in afterwards, or vice versa, all depending on what I'm trying to do. That will change from song to song, style to style, artist to artist. And then the trimmer I put in at the end, that allows me to control the overall volume of what I've done prior to it. So again, I'm gonna continue just checking everything.
Rise from this slumbering place, and those who remain we shall be changed. Yeah.
I'm going to go and drop in a de-esser. My go-to de-esser is usually the Universal Audio Precision de-esser. That'll take a minute to load. That's a really good de-esser. Let's just drop that down here. Bring back in our virtual mix rack. Just take a look at what we're doing.
Rise from this slumbering place, and those who remain we shall be changed. In a moment, and we shall behold Him.
So we can see how our compressors are working within the dynamic range of the performance, and allows the vocals to sit on top of the music bed nicely. So I'm not having to ride faders. Now I could go in obviously and use automation on these sections to get even more control. But for this, again, for the sake of this video, I'm just showing you some kind of broad approach to everything. You can put an EQ if you want on your reverbs if you want. That's a popular thing to do. I'll reach in for a Q4. Maybe we'll put a little high-end shelf on it too. Again, this is just for the reverb. That's all that's being done here. This is not EQ in the whole mix. This is just EQ in the reverb send going from the vocal.
Rise from this shall be changed in a moment, and we shall behold Him, then face to face, and we shall behold Him. Oh, yes, we shall behold.
All right, sounding good. Next thing we could do is we are hitting at negative 0.8 going into our submix. Again, this was a downloaded track off of the internet, so that's kind of already mastered. I've turned it down 5.5 dB so that I've got a little headroom to work with. The music isn't spiking my my master bus at 0 dB, which is probably what it would do if I didn't turn it down 5.5 dB. But I don't want to turn it down too much because I don't want to create something where I'm getting an overcompressed sound when I'm all done. Because I'm going to add some limiting to my submix to boost my overall level. So let's do that now. Let's go look for our L1. And the deliverable for this project was a CD. So we obviously want to go to 16-bit. And let's go -5. Actually, let's go to -8. That's where we were hitting right initially on our submix. So we won't go over this. We're going to keep where our peak was already. What we're going to do is we're going to push everything up to meet where our peak was already. And I'm going to slowly pull this down, and I'm going to watch this right here. This is the amount of reduction we're getting. So let's let that run.
Rise from this slumbering place, and those who remain shall, we shall be changed in a moment, and we shall behold Him, then face to face, and we shall behold Him. Oh, yes, we shall behold Him, face to face, in all of His glory, and we shall behold Him. Oh, yes, we shall behold.
We're getting somewhere now. All right. Again, that's our final limiting. That's the last thing you're going to do when you go to get this out to your commercial level. I do tend to drop a tonal balance control plug-in from Isotope on my master bus to check the overall tonal shaping, tonal balance of the audio, just to make sure that this will sound good on multiple listening environments, whether it's be earbuds, digital streaming, CD production, whether you're listening to it in your car, on your home stereo, whatever it may be. There's nothing that's going to be out of character or out of balance when you go to listen to it in multiple environments.
Rise from this slumbering place, and those who remain shall, we shall be changed in a moment, and we shall behold Him, then face to face, and we shall behold Him.
So our total balance is looking great from our low mids up to our highs. We are right in the this sort of the sweet spot. You can see our low end is pretty low, and that's, again, we are working with an internet mix of an instrumental. Something you could do to help bolster that is we could go into our stereo track. Obviously, if this was a full orchestrated session that you did on your own, you could manipulate those frequencies, on your own without worrying about having to do something like this. But basically, what you could do is you could boost your low end. Put maybe something like this.
Rise from this slumbering place, and those who remain shall, we shall be changed in a moment.
right, so that helps with the low end. You don't have to do that. I mean, that's just something I'm noticing from the tonal balance controls kind of target values. It's telling me that for modern music, that the low end up to 200 was kind of lacking. This is just one way to do it. You could EQ your low end, put a low end boost there. Again, this is only because I had a stereo mix that I downloaded from the internet. Ideally, I would. This was a last minute thing. She called me up on a Tuesday. She was in the studio on a Wednesday. I was handing her a CD mix Thursday. So there wasn't a lot of time for me to get into this and do what I would have liked to have done, which was create this from scratch. Go in and actually compose and arrange this orchestral piece and have her come in and sing over top of it. If I did it that way, I would boost my low end from my low end instruments, which would be my basses, my cellos, my tubas, my percussions, everything on that low end spectrum. I would use that to shape my low end instead of doing it on a stereo track low end boost. So again, not to say that that's the wrong way to do it. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So here we're getting to the point now where there's not much more we can do within the confines of the time frame we were given from the client to get their CD or their deliverable for their needs. So is it perfect? By no means am I trying to say that this is a perfect approach. This is, I'm being, like I said, I'm using very broad strokes. I'm going in, I'm saying, all right, I need to control this mix. I need to use this tool, this style, and this approach to get the results I need fast. I'm going to let this roll from the beginning and see kind of how our settings affect the beginning of the song, where the performance is much softer.
The sky shall unfold, preparing his entrance. The stars shall applaud him with thunders of praise. The sweet light in his eyes shall enhance those awaiting, and we shall behold him, then face to face. We shall behold him. Yes, we shall behold him face to face in all of his glory. Oh, we shall behold him. Yes, we shall behold him.
Not bad. I would probably go in definitely and automate the volume on this early section down, because it's the compression settings are pushing the level way over top of the music. So I would absolutely probably go in. You see, I even got a little automation already in there. Probably delete that out.
The sky shall unfold, preparing his entrance.
Much better.
The stars shall applaud him with thunders of praise. The sweet light in his.
All right, and so from here, I probably would pull them up a little as the more instrumentation is introduced into the mix.
With thunders of praise, the sweet light in his eyes shall enhance those awaiting.
And I would go in and I would fine tune that, dial it in right where it's sitting evenly across the board from section to section, because the song constantly builds layer, 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 layer until we get to that ending where it's just everything's in. She's just killing it vocally, and you want to make sure that the song builds, that you aren't just crushing the vocal from the beginning to the end, because then you get ear fatigue. Nobody's going to listen to the whole thing. I don't care how good the performance is. You gotta give the listener a little taste of what's yet to come without hitting them with all the grand finale at the very beginning of the song. So you would want to step that as each section grows. You're also growing the vocal. So this automation is the key to that. Again, there's another section right here where I think the snare comes in. Might even do something like this.
This we shall behold.
So your bass instruments come in there. You got the bass, the full kit comes in. You can hear snare and kick drum and the hi-hats. So I mean, there's again, it's building layers, and the mix needs to reflect vocally, needs to reflect each additional layer. Also the vocal has to grow with it. So that's how you would certainly bring more life to the mix from a vocal perspective. All right, one other thing that I normally do on every mix is I create my my submixes. Each instrument goes into its own auxiliary channel or group. Again, for this song, there's just the music and the track that the vocalist recorded. So I'm going to send her into this vocal bus. I'm going to Control click to solo safe my bus. I'm going to go to my vocal track. And I'm going to send it to my vocal bus. So there we go. This is now routed to the vocal bus, which then I can add additional processing here if I wanted to. I'm not saying that this is a have to. This is more for anything you might want to do finally. I love the Greg Wells MixCentric plugin. Greg's an awesome mix engineer, producer, songwriter, etc., etc., etc. This is a nice little taste to put on a vocal at the end.
This we shall behold him. Yes, we shall behold him. Face in all of his glory. Oh, we shall behold.
Right there. Good spot.
Oh, we shall.
All right, so I'm going to zoom in on that. We got this right here. Yeah, that B almost gets lost, so I'm going to bump that up there. And again, this is the next step. You're going to go in and you're going to fine tune it. There's a lot of breaths and stuff that I would go in and edit out, just to, you know, finalize, put that final polish on the mix.
Unfold.
You just go in and just check everything.
Preparing.
So that's the final process. Actually, you can start there. A lot of this was just, I was trying to show you how to control a dynamic vocal. But these are all things that I would do within the workings of preparing a track for mixing, and certainly for putting out commercially. You want to make sure you clean up on any clicks, pops, excessive breathing or ambient noises in the room, what have you. So that's the approach I took to Stacy's vocal performance when she came in and sang "We Shall Behold Him." This was a real quick, where she came in on a Wednesday, recorded her vocal performance, and then Thursday afternoon she came back and it was handed a CD for her to deliver to her client. So real quick deadline, real quick turnaround. We had to come in, record, get a mix out, and within 24 hours, this was the approach I took. All right, thank you very much. All right, so there you have it. We went through the process of showing how we mixed her vocal track, and we bounced it down for that final stereo file that was used in the video, the studio looking video. If you have any questions about the processes shown here, or any other questions, you can leave them in the comments section below this video, or you can email me, bbuck822@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can go to my website, www.provisionstudios.com. You can contact me through that, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and message me that way. Either way, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye-bye now.